thepowerofvoices.com. And we're on the air and everywhere from the community to the world. Good to have you along with me. In Southern California, you can see behind me the brightness of the beautiful sunshine peering in the lights here of the undisclosed location and studio of the Jesse T Show today. It's a beautiful day out there in Southern California. It is springtime now, and we did have some rain coming in here last week and the early part of this week over the weekend, but boy, it is just gorgeous out there now. Unfortunately, though, we do have the problems we have in Los Angeles, and that, of course, are homelessness and beat-up streets with potholes and trash everywhere and way too many cars for the amount of streets there are. And just to think and the thought about the fact that in the next 5 to 10 years, all these young people that are being born today and are going to be 16 years old are all going to be driving on this here streets of Los Angeles. The traffic is just going to get worse and worse and worse. Oh, paradise is beautiful at the tops of the mountains between. I don't know, man. It's really changed. Have you along with us as we exit the stage left. Say hi to our Instagram audience over Instagram Live at Jesse Torero. Thanks a lot. And we just take a moment to say thanks a lot for checking in on Instagram. And you can always find out on Instagram what we're doing and the things that are happening and some post-ups like today after the show. We're going to be going to a world movie premiere down in North Hollywood, the NoHo district, right near it. And we're going to be seeing a Massimiliano Cerce movie called Mayday with Michael Perrier. And it's a great movie. It's sort of like a plane crash movie with a ghost and a bad guy and a good guy flying at 35,000 feet. He makes some really good suspenseful movies. So we'll be bringing you the red carpet festivities either before or after. It just depends if I can get down there in time. So you can check those pictures out and those little videos we post on Instagram. And we got to say hi to our YouTube audience over here, exit stage right, back to thepowerofvoices.com. We got to say hi to our YouTube audience at YouTube, Jesse Torero, where we archive everything up, and we are live, and we are going on right now. In fact, every day of the week, Monday through Friday, from 5 to 6, are live right here on YouTube as we try to build that subscribership up more and more and more this year. We want you to be a part of it because there you can catch a podcast. There's probably about 300 shows lined up now, and I'm posting up every single video and show I've done for the last 5 years on YouTube now that I figured out how to do it. And so over the month, we've got some great interviews I've done over the last 5 years from all kinds of different activities, from activists and politicians and also athletes and entertainers and all kinds of terrific fun things we've done there with Dan the Man. And, of course, Dan the Man, the Road Dog King, going to be out with me tonight at the world movie premiere. Check out YouTube and YouTube Jesse Torero. Saying hi to our Facebook friends that are straight in front of us. Saying hi to Alatina Brown. Hey, good to have you along with me, brother. Facebook.com/Jesse Torero. We are live on Facebook, too, all the time. And we archive there after the show as well. So you can catch the Jesse T Show just about anywhere. And other 20 other Facebook type channels, you know, social media network TV outlets. We're on about 23 or 24 now as our audience grows and grows and grows and grows. And we can't forget about the global radio audience and our home-based foundation, thepowerofvoices.com, where you can download the free app for your Android and for your Apple phone. And that's at www.thepowerofvoices.com, broadcasting live right now under the Jesse T Show. Saying hi to Steve Matsumoto coming on. Hey, thanks a lot, Steve. And Nelda Maria is checking in with us right now, and Ben Munoz and Robert Druce. Thanks, Robert. Druce, that must be a good German name. It sounds like a good German name to me. Deshaun McMillan's checking in. Hey, Deshaun, how you doing? Hey, let us know when you check in what part of the country or what part of the city you're calling from. It's always interesting to know who's watching from where and all that good stuff. Louis D. Hey, Stefano, Louis D's checking in. Hey, Louis, good to have you around with us. Always, Louis. A great listener and viewer and a fan of the show, and we appreciate that, Louis. And thanks for checking into the Jesse T Show down on the real estate corner. He watches that show quite a bit because he's starting off his investment career. Izzy Camarillo's checking in too, so the audience is growing and growing and growing. So that's good, and we appreciate you sharing out and liking our show out, like on Facebook. We just got the numbers on that. 94,000 new shares this last month on the Jesse T Show. So appreciate that very much for participating in all that good stuff. Now that we took care of some business, we're going to talk today about a couple of things as we kind of start to launch into the next 45 to 50 minutes of the Jesse T Show. We're going to be talking about what's going on with all this gun violence and how it is kind of developed and expanded out into what it is becoming now. And it's pretty interesting. I've got some really interesting thoughts that might be sort of out of the box. Hey, but hey, it's me, Jesse T. I can't help but being me, Jesse T. You know, world according to Torero. I'm going to put you straight on the point, at least from my point of view. And we invite you to chime in and check out the show and express your thoughts here so that I can express them for you online. And sometimes we do take some of your video calls here on the Jesse T Show. And we'll try to maybe do a little bit of that if we can get around to that today. Okay, so it's just another interesting day that's taking place in the news. It's really interesting. And I wrote a commentary that I sent out to 2 newspapers yesterday on Monday morning about the school shootings and the protests that are taking place. I was going to go down and cover the protest down in Los Angeles of 500,000 people. Well, in one sense, I'm glad I didn't go down there, man. The traffic would have been just horrendous. And the other sense, I'm glad I didn't go down there either because, wow, did you see all the trash that these protesters left? It's pretty unbelievable, man. And I got something to say about that, too, because I thought that was pretty remarkable, the kind of people that they truly are, the ones that protest. They can't even pick up after themselves. I mean, really, 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 how disrespectful is that? But we'll get to that in a second. What I'm doing is I'm loading up something right now and see if I can get this thing loaded up because I wanted to read you the commentary that I wrote. I sent it to 2 newspapers about that because over the weekend, as I said, I was going to go down and join the protest, at least cover it. Moni Swan invited us down to celebrate the 100th anniversary and birthday of Mayor Tom Bradley. Of course, we had that interview last week on the Jesse T Show on Thursday with Moni Swan. We talked all about Tom Bradley. We're really one of the really last most powerful mayors here in Los Angeles. He was able to do a multiple term, and after that, they created term limits for our mayors here in Los Angeles. I think Mayor Tom Bradley was mayor for 20 years, but he really loved Los Angeles, and he was a pretty good mayor, I will add. He's gone down historically as being the man who started a lot of great things and did a lot of good stuff for Los Angeles. Seems like it's gone downhill ever since he left the mayoralship here in Los Angeles, and all the other mayors seem to be mayors that just are looking for their own pocketbook and hoping to profit grotesquely from their mayoralship. But it's like right for government now. I mean, if we put Dona Villaraigosa back in the office here in California, we 5 to our heads. Really seriously, because this guy, all he wanted to do was go out and have sex with hot-looking Latina reporters all over the world, posing that he was doing business for the city of Los Angeles. In fact, I think he got divorced because of one of his interludes and one of his escapades. He got himself caught, but I'm not a big fan of his, never have been. And he's really not what he says he is. But nevertheless, it kind of has gone downhill from then since Mayor Tom Bradley. But I didn't go out there because I didn't. I thought, the reason for a lot of the protesters that were out there, not so much because of Tom Bradley, they were out there because they were protesting gun violence. And I thought, well, that's a good thing. It's always good to stop violence in the street. I mean, in Chicago right now, they have over 3,335 murders in the streets of Chicago, all by violent acts, by guns and murders and killings. Okay? And isn't it funny that Chicago has no guns in it? Chicago, the state of Illinois, is a gun-free zone, but yet there's more murders in Chicago by gun. I mean, that doesn't, does that 1 and 1 make 2, or does 1 and 1 make 6? I mean, you got a city which is now the 5th largest city in the United States of America. It used to be the 3rd largest city in the United States of America. It was the 2nd largest city a long, long time ago. Now it's the 5th, but yet it leads the murder rate just exponentially far greater than any other city in the United States of America. Let me give you for instance, like here in Los Angeles, I think we're at about maybe about 300 or 400 murders here in Los Angeles, about 10 times more there in Chicago, approximately. It's just unbelievable how many people die in the city of Chicago. Most of it is black on black crime too. That's a whole dissertation and monologue there as well. Go figure. We can talk about that at another time. But nevertheless, a lot of people dying in Chicago, and a lot of people have guns in Chicago, and a lot of people are shooting people in Chicago. But yet the people in Chicago that are the good people can't protect themselves. They can't arm themselves. They can't defend themselves or their families. They can't defend their shops. They can't have guns. You can't have a gun in the city of Chicago, but yet it's got to be the most violent place in the world. And it seems like all that went up when they pronounced Chicago as a gun-free zone. Then violence kind of exploded in Chicago, going back about 5 or 6 years. Of course, the DNC has been running Chicago for time immemorial. Kind of going the way Detroit went, and since the Democratic National Party, the Democrats owned Detroit from the time the car business started there, all the way till just recently, kind of destroyed that city with all their free programs and government handouts and gross ways in which the politicians got rich. Just do your history check on the city of Detroit, and it's an amazing revelation that will hit you square in the head, just like a baseball hitting you right in the forehead. But, Chicago seems to be going that way too. It's a great city. I was born there. It's a shame that all the murders. It's just unbelievable what's happening there, but you can't defend yourself. Okay, so anyhow, I'm thinking about this gun violence stuff that's going on here. And this big protest in Los Angeles, it was 500,000 plus people. I saw the pictures. Unbelievable amount of people. And I thought to myself, I said, what are they protesting? Are they protesting that violence is a bad thing? Are they protesting that violence is a bad thing? Are they protesting that they don't want rifles anymore? See, because what they call an assault rifle or an AR-15, that is a term that's created. The A doesn't stand for assault, okay? But it's not an assault rifle. It's just a rifle. That's all it is. So this idea, what are they protesting? Well, if they're protesting against rifles, then they should be protesting against handguns. And they should be protesting against hunting rifles like a 30-06. Then they should be protesting against shotguns. Then they should be protesting against crossbows. And they should be protesting against bows or archery. And they should be protesting against and non-long knives and survival knives and pocket knives. Then they should be protesting against anything that is used in violence to murder people, to hurt people, to intimidate people, or to kill people. They should be protesting everything. If you're going to protest violence and to stop the violence, then you need to protest against anything. Well, why don't we get that idea out to MS-13? Let's get that idea out to 18th Street, La M, El Norte, the Mexican Mafia, the Armenian Mafia. Let's get that out to the drug cartels, especially Fast and Furious, who got all of the military-grade rifles from the Obama administration. Fast and Furious. Remember that scandal? Of course, there was no scandal that Obama ever said he had. He wouldn't have a White House full of scandals, and I can list off about 50 of them. It's unbelievable. I might be going a little bit exaggeration there, but a tremendous amount of scandals. And the one that created a lot of violence and death and destruction in people, both in Mexico and here, was that Fast and Furious program. I mean, that was worse than Reagan and Colonel North's gun program. Remember that one? What was that called? The Gate. I'll get my mind in a second. The Contra Gate, right? So, I mean, if you're going to protest violence, then we need to stop everything from being violent. But then we have to have the bad guys stop too. We can't have bad guys that have more weapons than the good guys. I mean, if you do that, then like in England, you see those pathetic policemen running around because they can't carry guns. And you see those videos all the time on the internet where there's like 12 cops chasing a guy with a baseball bat because nobody wants to get hit with a bat. And so they're running around, ring around the rosy around a van because, nobody can drop the guy and he's already beat some people with his baseball bats. So go figure. I mean, that's like the cops and robbers from the silent movies. So are we going to go back to that kind of policing? I mean, where do you stop? Stop the violence. Mentally ill people don't kill people. You know that. Mentally ill people, for the most part, are just like regular folks. They don't kill people. Drug-crazy ill psychopaths kill people. Drug-crazy psychotropic imported and put into people's lives kill people. But those kind of people are kind of Looney Tunes, right? And they're being imposed upon them with some chemical changes in their body. But mentally ill people don't necessarily kill people. No, they don't. Statistics prove that. Good people don't kill people. No, they don't do that. So, I mean, we've got this thing all mixed up. And it's really remarkable that we're allowing young people to set the determination of what should be done and what not should be done when, 10 years ago they were 7 and 8 years old. So go figure. So I woke up over the weekend thinking about all kinds of this and other things that kind of, I didn't go to that because I thought I would be a hypocrite if I went to that, especially with some of the signs that I saw afterwards of these little 8 and 9-year-olds carrying signs of profanity against the NRA. The NRA isn't the problem. The problem is not the NRA. Heck, did you know that the African Americans here in America have their own NRA? Did you know that? It's called the NAAG, I believe it is. They have their own society, and they have chapters all around the country springing up. It's just like the NRA. I bet you didn't know that because they're not as big, but that's happening. And you have to be an African American to be in that. You can't be a brown man or a white man or an Asian man. You got to be an African American. That's like a undisclosed prerequisite. Huh, I bet you didn't know that. Well, go check it out. So if we take down the NRA, we have to take down that one too as well. I mean, really, where does it stop? Well, I got to thinking about all this, and I said to myself, we're twisted. We are really twisted in this country right now. So I wrote this commentary that I sent in to 2 newspapers that I write for on a weekly basis. I do commentary. I'm not a journalist. I do commentary. And there's a difference between being a journalist and a commentary. Journalists go for the neutrality of their reporting. Commentary takes an opinion about something and does commentary about it. So I'm going to read you what I wrote, and you can agree with it or not. That's up to you. Saying hi. Savage Sky 09, JPI, Zara Young, Malia Bernal, Bobby Bowden's back with us. Massimiliano Sakahora is back with us. Great. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate that. On the Jesse T Show here on Tuesday in Southern California. So I woke up today thinking about my kids who are in their 20s. And this is a commentary that I wrote that went out to a couple of places that I submit commentary for in newspapers. What a concept. People reading newspapers. I don't think that happens too much anymore. But nevertheless, I woke up today thinking about my kids who are in their 20s. Both professional athletes, both living a pure toxic-free life, both wonderful, right-thinking, clean, educated, hardworking, great attitude, loving, strong in body, soul, mind, both who stand out where every person that sees them wishes they could be them, both talented, well-adjusted, true blood, old school Americans, gorgeous, handsome, and ethically, morally sound, God respecting with honesty, honor, and virtues that propel them to a higher level of understanding and thoughtfulness. I woke up today reflecting on the protests across America led by these young people, mostly in their late teens and in their 20s, and said to myself, wow, I sure am lucky that my young people are not those kids. Those young people have been manipulated since birth to do exactly what they are doing now. They are being used and do not even know it because their hearts are controlled by the shepherd miles away behind the tree that can't be seen. I woke up this morning seeing how twisted the protests are and have come to the understanding that our nation is being comprised, composed, and taken over one step at a time. Gun violence is an awful thing. It's a terrible thing that people die by gun or by any means or any weapon. But guns do not kill people. Guns do not fire themselves. Guns do not wake up in the morning, walk outside, go into a high school, and shoot by all themselves. Criminals, drugged out, crazed psychopaths, not mentally ill people, kill. Heats of passion kill. Terrorists kill. And those that want to control you by gunpoint kill. Propagandists controlling all the fake news you see are the enemies, not the weapons. The true enemy, really, when you come to think about it, since a country is made up of the people that live in that country and the timeline they're living, the true enemy really is you. You that have not taught your children well. You that have not taught your kids right. You that have allowed violence in your house, on TV, watching fits of rage in prime time. You that have allowed your kids to use profanity at home and in the public. You that have allowed your young people to see deviant behavior on the internet. You that have allowed your people to take over your home, the young people. You that have not punished them properly when they were children and installed virtues, moral, and ethics. You that have turned your kids into sugar addicts, salt addicts, drug addicts. You that allow your babies to have open access to the internet and the sick, disgusting things that anybody can see any time of the day. Violent games, sick, chop 'em up killer movies. You that do not run your kids' lives and participate in their lives all the time. You that you owe your car payment of $800 to $1,000 a month. And that's more important, driving the brand new, sophisticated, exotic, regular, beautiful new car, paying that $800 to $1,000 a month for car payment and insurance, rather than just having $800 to $1,000 more time a month to spend with your youngsters. You have no God in your life at all, of any spiritual order. A God that loves, not a God that preaches violence. You who do not read or impose upon your children to read. You who do not teach. You who do not engage with your children through their whole lives. You who do not have the moral and ethical strength to keep the family together, who cheat and cheat and cheat on each other. You who have allowed people to think that you can be a girl when they really are a boy, or you could be a boy when they really are a girl. You who are weak, afraid, scared, can't fight and defend, run away. You who are out of shape. You who allow your bodies to be marked with tattoos all over your face and head and metal everywhere. You who flaunt your body sexually in public, skimpy clothes, almost nothing on. You who have lost your way, or maybe you never even knew the way. No wonder our society is becoming more promiscuous, more deviant, more violent, and less caring. Whose fault is it? Your fault. That's why I'm going to move to my own Wyoming. Think about that for a second. A country is made up of its people, and the people are made up of the time that they live in. And the country becomes what the people say it's going to be, no matter what country you're from. There are those elitists and globalists and very wealthy people that try to manipulate and control like the shepherd miles away behind a tree that can't be seen, but it's the people that succumb to these things, especially in Western society. So I got to thinking, and I got to thinking, my goodness, are we really at the point now where we are allowing our whole world, our whole country, to be manipulated and controlled by young people because they're so smart? Then I said to myself, well, wait a second. Wait a second. What, there's something going wrong here. There's something that's not smelling right. There's something that's just not completely right. How did they afford in 800 cities to be able to do this massive march in 800 cities? Do you know the kind of organization that takes in order to do that? Do you know what kind of money it takes to be able to organize just 100 people, let alone 800 cities across the nation, all on a weekend? And I said, wow, the March for Our Lives, who is backing that? Who's paying for it? I don't know about you, but did you get on an airplane and fly to Washington, D.C. and get in a limo and be shuttled to a protest and stay in a 5-star hotel while you were there when you were a teenager? Doesn't make sense to me. Then I said, well, So I started doing a little looking and a little bit searching. And I got to pay homage to where homage is due. Glenn Beck, and you may not agree with Glenn Beck all the time. I certainly don't all the time. But Glenn Beck did some research, extensive research. So one thing he's good at is that when he does these presentations on a big board, they are pretty well researched. They really are. And I was watching one of his dissertations on this, and I said to myself, oh my goodness. You know who's backing? You know how much money was put in to these 800 city marches? $256 million. $256 million somebody put up. $256 million in order to have 800 marches in 800 cities with mass amounts of people. And it was George Soros who backed it with his money, which $256 million of George Soros, the ex-SS trooper when he was like 15, 16 years old in Nazi Germany, who turned in Jewish people to be put in concentration camps. But he's an industrialist. $256 million to him is like $20 to you or $10 to a homeless person. It's nothing to him. Okay? $256 million was filtered through the American Teachers Association, through the Gifford Foundation, through several other groups, a half a dozen other groups. The March for Lives was actually put together by these entities. Yeah. And the March for Life was also put together and backed by the DNC. And guess who funds the DNC with a tremendous amount of money? George Soros. There is absolutely no way that young people can get across the nation the way they did. This Hogue or Hogg guy and that chick. You know, there's a lot of stories. I don't know if it's fake news yet or not. I haven't done my homework on it, but boy, oh boy, there's a lot of discrediting going on about these two young people. There's conflicting stories here and there and left and right. So, you know, when you think about what's really happening and you open your eyes and you say to yourself, okay, why? Why? Why is this taking place? Saying hi to Zeke Manarez and Mark Morales, who have us on here on Facebook.com. Thanks a lot, guys. On thepowervoices.com. So, of course, your show here, Jesse T. Show, broadcasting live every day of the week from 5 to 6. Now, you say, okay, all right, it's funded by George Soros and his gang of people, filtered down through the DNC and all these different teaching organizations and all these different organizations that are supposed to be good for the people, these nonprofits. But they aren't 501(c) corporations. They're 501(c)(4) corporations. That means they don't have to designate publicly who their donors are. There's something we just learned today. A 501(c), a nonprofit has to designate who their donors are. In a 501(c)(4), you don't have to. So my thought process just kind of went back one more degree as I unraveled the onion. Okay? Why? Because some people got terribly destroyed and young people got killed and murdered in Parkland High School? Is this why? Well, there are young people getting murdered all across the nation all year long. What about the murdering that's going on here down at the border? What about all the people that are dying from drug overdoses, all the young people? What about all the homeless people that die every day of the week here across this great nation? What about those people? What about the people that are dying from all sorts of violence and rage across this nation? What about people who are shooting drugs, who are dying from heroin injections and opiate injections? What about people who are dying because they drink too much and drive on the freeway? What about people who are dying for all kinds of reasons that are dying more than these young people who are dying in the high schools? Well, the reason why they target the high schools is because we all have young people in our lives. And we humans, being human that we are, we have to protect our young people. And so it's a natural order of things to go after the things that we love the most, that we can be moved by the heart of passion and not the brain of thought, that we will react in such a way because we are human beings. All of us are the same unless you're a crazy psychopath and you don't care about life then or anybody else's. We will react a certain way. This is why young people are targeted. This is why. Because they're essentially harmless, innocent, naive, and can't protect themselves yet. Easy targets, soft targets. And they know that we will react a certain way. Then I got to thinking, but why? Why are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to accomplish? Why all of a sudden? Rifles don't shoot themselves. People still go in with machetes and cut people up around the world. You see that. People still go in with bats and clubs and beat people to death. You see that. But why? Why? And then it dawned on me. It dawned on me just like the night turns to day and the day turns to night. And I had an aha moment, an epiphany. Saying hi to Dean Olson. The reason why all of this is taking place now, the reason why all this is taking place directed to our young people, murdering our young people, murdering kids, the reason why all this is being done at the hands of people that are drug-crazed psychopaths with rifles. The reason why the attack on the NRA, the reason why the attack on those that are gun owners, the reason why the attack on trying to create more laws and more rules and more restrictions for gun ownership. Because if all that worked, Chicago would be a safe, free zone, and we could walk around Chicago and never worry about being shot. But of course, there are over 3,000 people that have died already this year in Chicago, and most of them by gunpoint. The reason why all of this is taking place now, it's very simple. It's the attack on the last constitutional right that we have that has not fallen. that has not been manipulated, destroyed by the lawyers and the courts and the government. It's the last and only the last constitutional right of the 26 amendments that give us the Bill of Rights here as Americans. And that is, it's the attack on the Second Amendment. It's sort of like my Sifu said, Gary Lam. I've studied Wing Chun. I'm a Wing Chun practitioner for probably over 30 years now. And one of the things that my Sifu, Gary Lam, said, if you ever want to do Wing Chun, go check out Gary in Monterey Park. Tell him Jesse Torero said hi. My Sifu said, there are 5 things to the Chinese fighting system of Wing Chun. One of them, 5 elements. It's a 5-element fighting system. Okay? One of them is earth. Okay? One of them is metal. Okay? One of them is fire. Okay? One of them is wood. Okay? And one of them is water. And water being one of the strongest elements. And the reason why water is one of the strongest elements, because water, over a period of time, 1 drop at a time, water can erode the strongest granite rock on the planet Earth. Water can erode it and dissolve it into nothing. It may take a long time, 1 drop at a time, but water will destroy everything in its path. It'll find a way, undercut it, go over it, wash it out, dissolve it, destroy it, or go around it, eventually go through it. Water is a very, very strong element, along with the other 4 elements. So it's sort of like water, the erosion of the Second Amendment. Every country that has been taken over by its government in the history of mankind, the first thing they have done is they've gone in and they've taken away the weapons of protection from the peasants. Don't have to go too far back for that. Of course, we all talk about Hitler and Nazism. That's the first thing that they did in Nazi Germany, is Hitler took away all the guns when he came to power. The second thing that they do is they take away the boy children. They take away the boy babies. Now, they used to do it a lot more insidiously and straight up in the empires of antiquity. They can't do that anymore in that way. But they take care over the family's ideology. And we can go back to World War II and Hitler. That's the second thing he did, is he took over the children, the youth of Germany. In fact, Goebbels said, if you give me the children, Hitler, if you give me the children, I will give you 1,000 years of rule. Third Reich. Okay? So that's the second thing he did. They brainwashed the children to even turn in their moms and dads, their brothers, their sisters, their family members, and their friends, and people they've known their whole young lives. The third thing that a tyrannical government does is they create propaganda. They start distributing a message that's opposite the message that that country had for a long period of time, utilizing the current most advanced technology of its day. That's what they do. Hitler used the radio and he used the pamphlets. If we go back a little bit farther, Martin Luther in 1517 used the printing press for the Protestant Reformation. See, because up until that time, Christianity was ruled by the Roman Catholic Church. There was no Christians. You were Roman Catholic. And the way you got to God was by giving up indulgences. If you don't know what that word means, I'll tell you. Money. You paid tribute, ransom. You did a vic to the church based on the crime or your behavior that you were conducting at the time. The worse the behavior, the more you had to pay, so that at the end of your life, the Pope would allow you and cleanse you so you could meet God at the pearly gates. And Martin Luther didn't feel that that was true. So Martin Luther, who was a Catholic priest teaching at a Catholic school, a seminary, that to young people that were going to become Catholic priests, he saw an indulgence going on, and he said, that's not the way to God. Faith is the way to God. And what he did is he decided then to utilize the printing press. He decided to utilize the printing press. Let me say this again. He decided to utilize the printing press. Martin Luther King did use the printing press to get his word around into Germany, because that's where he was at. See, because up in that time, they didn't get the word around. There very few books were printed. So the technology of communication during that day, when the printing press came aboard, was advanced tremendously. And by way of doing that, he was able to get his message of faith and not indulgence to God. And of course, the monarchy liked that because they didn't want to pay taxes, or they didn't want to pay the vic anymore, and the indulgence church, and you could do it by faith. And then Christianity started, and all kinds of Christian sects started, and that's when Christianity started. Christianity is a thing of faith that comes out of Christendom. Okay, that's what it does. Okay, all right. So you see, he used the form of communication highly advanced for its time to get the word out. And so Hitler did the same thing with the radio and the leaflets and the flyers. And he had the children turning in everybody. And he had co-conspirators like George Soros, who was 15 and 16 years old, a child, turning in everybody. And he professed, of course, to be the white Aryan race, which was the best race. And he evilified. That's the fourth thing. You have to evilify somebody in your society. You have to make them be so evil that everybody will hate their guts. Then you create chaos in the society, and in chaos you control the majority of people. Wow. So I got to thinking, man, are we living in 1935 again? Are we seeing this? Actually seeing people are falling for it? Are they actually falling for this? Yeah, they are. Because one of the other things that they do to take over society is they take away all the books. They burn the books. That was out of George Orwell's 1984, burn the books. So people can't read anymore. They burn the newspaper. So people can't read it. Well, they don't have to do that, do they? Because they just taught generations of people, you don't have to read. Get your Kindle out. You can hear this story while you drive your car. It's not the same. Reading does something to your brain. It connects the synaptic nerves together in a way that listening does not, because reading utilizes a different kinetic sense. Listening is ears, reading is eyes, reading is touch, turning the page, reading tactile. Listening is ears. There's nothing else to it. So reading makes your brain do other things. But we don't have to read anymore, right? Oh, we got the internet. We can just get our information by visual and auditory. We can just watch. Well, when you lose connection with words, you lose the connection in your brain, because then if you can't express yourself with the proper right words and the amount of words, then the only expression you have is from the heart of passion. And that passion is emotion. And that emotion, to express yourself without words, becomes very, very finite. You can't have a lot, because emotion is either you have good or bad. You're happy or you're sad. Not much in between that lasts too long. But words allow you to express yourself in a certain way. It also allows somebody to hear you in a certain way so that they can express themselves, so that you guys can express yourselves, so that you can come to some sort of agreement that's proper for both of you. But if you read anymore and you don't have any books anymore to read, then that's one of the ways that you take over society. Well, my goodness, isn't that already happening? That's what Hitler did. Then he evilified the Jews. He evilified the Gypsies. He evilified the Polish. He evilified the Russians. He evilified everybody. Everybody that wasn't him. Did you know that Hitler was a Catholic, and he was never thrown out of the Catholic Church for his atrocities to man? The Vatican never excommunicated him. Did you know that he was also Jewish too? Did you know that the House of Rothschild, the Jewish bankers, backed the Vatican and backed the Nazi banks laundering money through banks like Union Bank, Prescott Bush's bank, old man Prescott Bush? So I got to thinking this weekend about these protests and why, who, what are they trying to accomplish? It's the slow drip, 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 drip of water on a granite rock to destroy, dissolve, disintegrate, and eradicate the only true amendment that we have left, Americans, because we don't live in a republic anymore. We don't live with democratic ideals. Oh, you do. I do. But the powers that control us do not. They have bastardized every amendment and Bill of Rights that we have and manipulated it. But they can't manipulate the Second Amendment. They can't manipulate it. And they've been trying. And they're going to continue to try in every deceitful way that they can. And the deceitful way that they're doing it now is through fake news, right? And the children of our society. Let's kill some kids. Let's get the passions and heartstrings of America going. Let's get one weapon off the street at a time, because it's such a bad weapon. Is it really a bad weapon? Or is the people that are pulling the trigger bad people? I think the people pulling the trigger are bad people. Because a weapon doesn't shoot itself. Only bad people do bad things. But we got to control these Americans, because they're the only country in the world that, built into the Constitution, they have a right to bear arms. Have you read the Second Amendment lately? Have you actually taken out the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights and read the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment? Do you really know what the Second Amendment says? Have you taken it out and have you looked at it? Have you sat down with a cup of coffee and thought about it? Ask yourself, why do all the rest of the nations in the world, why do their people allow things like that to happen to them? Why can't they just stand up and fight? Why? Why can't they fight against their country? Why do they allow things to happen? Haven't you ever asked yourself why America has never been attacked by an outside force? Have you ever asked yourself why we haven't been attacked? Oh, yes, we're so far away from everybody. Yes, that's true. We are far away from everybody. Two great oceans. That has something to do with it. But have you ever thought about other reasons? Why can't they attack us through Mexico or Canada? Have you ever sat back and have you ever thought about if we didn't have the Second Amendment and there weren't 300 million firearms rolling around this nation, what would happen? Do you think that we would have an invasion at Santa Monica Beach or on the Atlantic coast by somebody historically? What was the Second Amendment all about? What did the amendments do for us as a nation? Why were they created by our founding fathers? Have you ever thought about these things and asked yourself, why? Why? So I'm going to read you the Second Amendment in its entirety. It's very short. It's not that big. But it's the only amendment left in our constitutional rights that hasn't been subjugated to lies, cheating, manipulation, and destruction. They've dripped the water on the granite rock long enough in all the other amendments, but they can't get this one, and they're trying. The Second Amendment says, very simply, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's simple. It's that simple. It's a very simple amendment. But in that simplicity comes our country. You see. And the reason why the forefathers created that is not so much so you could protect yourself against the Indians or protect yourself against your neighbor. It was to protect yourself against a government that tried to take your liberties away and force tyranny on you and me. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Folks, If we lose that right, if we lose any part of it, we've lost the rest of our nation. Tyranny will run amok. They know something that now you know. Something for you to think about. They know that over time, they will win because time is on their side. Because the American public are so stupid and so dumb, they don't even know their rights, and let alone care less to read them. They know if they destroy the family and turn the child against the adult, the passions will take over. They know if they kill young people indiscriminately, they can get you to do whatever they want. They know how to break your back. The only question here, are you going to let them? Are you going to let them? Gun violence has got to stop. But all violence has got to stop. Through violence, they create an environment that strikes to the passions of man and woman to react in a way without thought. And over time, if they destroy your ability to think because you don't read and educate yourselves and your family, then whose fault is the loss of our liberty, our freedom, our country? Do you really want to become like El Salvador? Do you really want to become like Russia and China? Do you really want to become like Chile, Germany, France, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Wales, Ireland, Scotland, England, Saudi Arabia, India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Jakarta, Australia, New Zealand, Colombia, Argentina, Bolivia, Panama, Guatemala, Mexico, Canada? Do you really want to become like them? What have they done for this world to make your life better? Nothing. This is why I say, so goes America, so goes the world. Not everything is perfect, but do you want to live like Americans, or do you want to live in slavery? The Jesse T Show. Good to have you along. On Facebook, we're archived right now. On Instagram, we're archived right now. And the Power of Voices. Now, thanks all for joining us. Tomorrow, Dan the Man's going to be in the plan, and Jesse T, as we revamp the Roundup Wound-Up show and take it a bit of a different direction. Good to have you along with me, Jesse T. Hey, Monday through Friday from 5 to 6 right here. Pass it along, share it along. You've entered the world. Oh, according to Ferrero. Now you're straight. The Brown Beauty's off duty. See ya!